Hello, sunshine. Welcome to Be Visible with Veronica, the podcast where bold conversations and soul-aligned strategy help you awaken your most powerful self. I'm your host, Veronica Bond. Get ready to stop dimming your light, own your magic, and finally be so visible you can't be ignored. Let's get visible. Hello, sunshine. Welcome to season 2 of Be Visible with Veronica. I'm so excited to have you here. We did a live video last week to celebrate our 1-year anniversary, and I'm thrilled for every conversation that came into the studio and shared their story. Today, on season 2, episode 1, I have a lovely guest who is sharing her great business concept and what she was able to do, how she made a shift, and what's happening in her world right now. Welcome to the studio, Gina.
Hi, Veronica. I'm glad to be here.
We're thrilled to have you here because I think it's a very powerful conversation for women entrepreneurs to always be talking about their sales cycle. Always be talking about going ahead and making a shift in midstream of a business if a concept's not going right for them, if they're not loving the people that are coming into their world, if it's not turning into the big aha that they thought maybe they were creating, if the audience feels like it's shifted for you. And I love that we went to lunch recently and we got to have a conversation around that.
Yeah.
Because how I knew you 4 years ago is not what you're doing now.
Exactly.
And I love that.
Yes.
And I said, let's come into the studio and have a conversation around that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So tell the community a little bit about your background and your business and what brought you to this iteration of what you're doing now.
Okay. I'm a military brat, an Air Force brat, to be specific.
Okay.
I grew up in a military family, and I don't know that I ever had a vision of what I would be as an adult. I knew I wanted to go to college because my parents emphasized that a lot. And they grew up in the segregated South. And for them, having us get an education was a way to advance ourselves economically and in society. So I went to college. I served 5 years in the Air Force.
Nice. Love that.
Yeah, I was an Air Force wife for a bit.
Okay.
And I started my career in human resources.
Okay.
Because I've always been a people person. And it seemed just a logical start for me. And I spent about 5 years in human resources. And I've always had unusual jobs.
Share what one was.
So here's part of my story. It's been job that they couldn't find anyone for.
Okay.
Job that no one wanted. Oh, this is a brand new job. We're not sure how it's really going to work out. So one of the most unusual jobs I had was working for a company. This was when I was still in human resources. And the company went through this phase of opening these really large distribution centers, like 2 million square feet.
Okay.
Very highly automated, usually out in the country somewhere because of the land that was required. And I was part of what they call the Greenfield team, to start up this building. So me and like 6 other people literally went to this site. They had the walls floored. They didn't even have the flooring in. We worked from a construction trailer for months before they could build a part for us to work inside the building. And it was a fascinating experience because it wasn't just HR. That was a big part of it because we had to hire a couple of hundred people. But it was also being part of figuring out the operations for this building, a lot of community relations, how were things going to work once we were up and going. So it was something that I never could have imagined, but it was a fascinating experience. And it was a very big project for the company I worked for at the time.
So do you think that's
one of the we can't find anybody for this jobs.
Oh my gosh. And so here Gina steps in. Do you feel like that those ladders of experience allowed you to get to where you are today?
I do. I think you can take anything out of the experiences you have. And I like to challenge myself, and I like to do the unusual. So
I love that.
I never wanted just a traditional, just sit in your office job. And that was part of my job for some years in human resources. And I really got tired of it. And one of the biggest things I got tired of was this corporate cycle of getting to the end of the year and laying people off so we could make our number. And it just became so discouraging to me to keep doing that.
And then how do you start the new year on a good note when you know what the last year, how the last year ended?
I remember a day meeting our regional president, sitting with him in his office in New Jersey, and just having meeting after meeting, laying people off. And then we got on a plane and flew around to some other places in the region to lay other people off. And I just felt terrible doing that. And then I think the people who are used to doing it, then life just goes on. Almost like they don't feel it. And I can't say they don't feel it, but it almost seemed like they don't really feel it. But I really felt it. And I happened to be one of the other unusual things I did, happened to be on another project in one of my company's distribution centers. And at the time, all of the regional sales managers had offices in these buildings.
Okay.
And so this project was a year and a half. And so I got to know these guys, and they were all men during this exercise. And I got to the end of the project, me and the other guy who were leading it, and we were tired of what we're doing. And I walked into one of the manager's offices, and he said, "Oh, can you help us? You're in HR. Can you help us? We can't find anybody for this job." And I was like, "Well, what is it?" And he describes the role to me. And in my mind, I'm like, I could do that. I think I'll apply for that job.
I love how there seems to be an ongoing thread here, a through line. Does HR have a stigmatism a little bit about what a human resource director or somebody who specializes in that space? It seems like people keep coming to you like, well, she's got this HR background. She's got to know how to communicate or work with people. We're going to see how she does over here.
I don't know. And actually, when I got into sales, I was the guy who trained me actually had been in HR too. But when this happened, I worked for the region president, and he's like, "Why are you doing this? You're so good at what you do." And I actually think they gave me a mercy interview because I was in the company. I had a good standing and everything, so they couldn't tell me I couldn't interview. I killed it.
Of course you did.
But part of it
that.
was, and this is for people who are looking and don't consider themselves in sales. When I started preparing for it, I realized I had been selling. I had been selling ideas.
Okay.
I had been selling, every year you have to sell to employees the declining benefits program. I had been selling the company to potential recruits that we wanted to come and work for us. I had to sell things to my management team. I had to sell things to employees, and they were all ideas.
Right.
But it was selling. So whatever you're doing, you were selling.
This is true. And every entrepreneur out there is selling something, whether it's a product or a service. It doesn't matter what the widget is.
Yeah.
Can I ask, I want to pause for a second because I'm still loving this Air Force conversation. What was your favorite thing about the Air Force?
Oh my gosh, I was in the Air Force in the fun times. So my role was I was what they called an aircraft maintenance officer. So I managed a flight line of fighter jets.
Wow.
So fighter jets and fighter pilots are a lot of fun.
Yes.
Very hard work because you have a demanding amount of, at the time, 30 to 32 flights to get off every day.
Have you ever been in the pilot's seat or in
No, these were single-seater planes, so no chance for me to get in one.
Okay.
I would have loved that. But the pilots have to get so many hours of training to stay qualified in case there is war. And so it's pretty demanding to get that number of flights off every day because lots of things happen with planes.
I'm sure.
Yeah. And it was just, I look back and I was maybe 23, 24 years old. And I think they let me be in charge of 30-some airplanes, building vehicles, 250 people at that age.
And we're talking hundreds of millions of dollars in aircraft then.
Yes. And thankfully, my dad was in the Air Force and he was enlisted. And his advice to me was like, do not become one of the officers that's a jerk. He's like, find you a good non-commissioned officer, NCOs, as they say, let them teach you the business so that you can be really successful. And I did follow that pattern.
Good
And
daddy
it was
advice.
hard. Like these, and it was mostly men. Very few women at the time were working in that field. And I was one of very few women working in the field. And it was hard to figure out. I had to figure out how to get men who were older than my dad or my dad's age to work with me, to work for me and with me.
What do you think was the magic behind that for you?
You know, I've always been a very upfront person. Mm-hmm. I've always been able to connect with people and to communicate with them. And my objective is to bring you to my side. Mm-hmm. I'm not a person that's going to push you to my side. I'm going to bring you to my side. I'm going to attract you to my side so that you want to work with me. And then, you know, there's some mutuality in it. If you can help do the things we need to do, I'm willing to also help you.
There can be a win-win solution.
There can be a win-win.
It doesn't have to be a zero-sum game.
It doesn't have to be a zero-sum game.
I love that. And I love that you knew that at a young age.
I did, yeah. I'm not sure how I knew that, but I did. It's like I have to get them, you know, I was an officer, so technically I outranked all of them. So technically I could tell them what to do, but that doesn't work very well for a long time.
No.
And you have people that take that approach and it doesn't
Even
bode
in
well.
the military, it doesn't
Yeah,
go well.
it doesn't go well because you know what? You have to get along with people.
And isn't that, to me, I said it to my husband we were having a conversation yesterday, and I said, when are human beings going to go back to just being kind?
Yeah.
Like, can't we just be kind to each other? Can't we just communicate? Can't we realize that we all have different backgrounds and we all have different upbringings, but we're human beings trying to have this being, this existence of, in my life, I just want to be around sunshine and happiness. And like, yes, I want to look at the world through rose-colored glasses. But I love that you leaned into your strengths and you had a father that supported you and really guided you.
Yeah.
And last year's episode for Father's Day, I interviewed my dad in here.
Oh, cool. Very
He's
cool.
the only male that's been on our show. And it was this lovely conversation around raising two entrepreneurial daughters. And I have to be honest, I was sitting there. So much of who I am today has to do with him. And my mom always pushing me a little further, or always having this view of where she wanted her girls to go and how she wanted us to show up in the world. And I didn't know how that conversation was going to go with my dad. As you know, we're very fluid. There are no pre-qualified questions here. We're just having a conversation. And it was such a beautiful episode. And I look back at that and I remember thinking, I don't care if one person watches it, it'll be there forever.
Yeah.
Our grandbabies, his great-granddaughter will be able to go look at it. Like it will, the story that he shared was so beautiful. And I love that you shared that because you had such a positive experience with your dad.
Yeah, and sadly he passed before he could see this part of my life. At
He's
least
still
here
watching.
at least here on earth. But you know, both my parents were a great influence on me. My mom passed in November. And you know, going through, if you've been through that experience of cleaning out the house and going through papers and stuff, I realized my mom had an entrepreneurial spirit.
Really?
And she was a homemaker most of my childhood, finally went back or started college when I was in high school, and she and I ended up graduating from the same college on the same day.
Are you kidding?
But in these notes, she was a very talented artist and seamstress. And she had all of these notes about business ideas, about helping women, you know, like what we'd call a stylist now, about clothes that she wanted to design and make, and all of this stuff. And she always sold some art, you know, locally where my parents lived. And
Did she do oils or watercolors? Or?
she did mostly oils because she's a very talented portrait artist. So a lot of the work she did was in oils or in pencil, chalk.
Okay.
But I found this series of business cards, and I could actually see how she evolved from like Betty Smith seamstress to Betty Smith portrait artist. And there were like 6 or 7 cards. And I never realized through all the years that she'd had that entrepreneurial spirit. And she probably just didn't have the courage to talk about it because it wasn't a thing.
Oh,
People didn't have
gosh.
their own businesses. Women didn't have their own businesses necessarily.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love
So
that
it's in
for
it was
you.
in me.
It was
Yeah.
in you. So fast forward, here you are. You left corporate.
Yes.
And your first entrepreneurial greatness, your first step into that space was doing what?
So the first thing I thought I wanted to do was to be a coach.
Okay.
So in the foundation, I am a coach. I coach people to results rather than demanding. It's that part of pulling people. And but it just didn't resonate, and it didn't grow, and it didn't produce what I thought it was going to produce. And it was very, for those of you who are starting, one thing I learned is it's possible you're going to try a few different things.
Sure.
You think I went and got this coaching certification, and the way they made it sound, what I thought I was going to be doing and how it was going to work was nothing like that. And so it can be discouraging. It can be frightening.
You're spending a lot of money.
You're spending a lot of
promoting the one
money,
thing over here.
and you're not getting the revenue to match that money. And I really had an epiphany at the end of, like in 2025, like, why are you running away from the thing that you know?
Wow. And you thought you were creating synergy in what you were doing because it
Yes.
felt like a background of what you've always been able to accomplish.
Yeah. And at the time, like a lot of people that leave corporate, you're like, I don't want anything to do with what I did for 30 years, 25 years or whatever.
I have that conversation weekly with somebody.
Yeah.
And they end up kind of going back to, okay, I'll say executive. Or I'll go ahead and talk to that space. Or guess what? A corporation just hired me to come in and do my expertise. And I didn't want to play in that sandbox, but they reeled me back in.
Yeah. And I just realized you're trying to do something, so you're getting some resonance from the market that it's not resonating. You're spinning your wheels, and you're spending a lot of money. And what about doing what you do well? What you've won awards for doing? What you love.
I love that. Speaking of awards, yes. What you
and head back to selling. And that's what I did, and really pivoted at the beginning of this year. I have a friend that is the CEO of a small medical device company. And we had lunch one day, and she said, and I told her about the shift, and she's like, it's about time.
Don't you want, I don't know that I'd want to scream, but I want to tell people who say, you are in your wheelhouse, Veronica, or it's about time you finally, I've been waiting, and I'm sitting here going, how come nobody said anything to me? Why wasn't this brought up to my attention?
Yeah.
And I think sometimes people are so busy in their own space that until you do it, and then they see you, and they're like, there you are.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
What did that feel like when she said that to you?
It felt like validation.
Okay.
And then I had a meeting today with somebody that is a mentor, and was talking about my plan and my offerings and stuff. And he was like, this is just so good. It's so spot on. And it was validation, and it was validation to hear that.
And it wasn't AI telling you how amazing you are.
No.
It was a real human being.
No. It was a real human being. Yes.
I love that.
Highly respected person. And
congratulations.
and I feel in alignment now.
Do you
so
believe
that's a
that
very different thing. And the various coaches I worked with and programs I was in, people talked about being in alignment. And I was like, high performance coach, I'm in alignment. But I really wasn't in alignment.
Do you feel the flow right now seems more like you're going downstream, you're not fighting a current because you're in your alignment, you're in your wheelhouse, you're in your greatness?
Yeah.
And the clients that are coming, congratulations, by the way, on your new contract.
Thank you.
As a fractional sales officer.
Yeah.
I love this for you. that we got to celebrate today, but that more of those doors are opening for you.
Yes.
Because you're truly in your alignment.
My lane.
In your
I'm
lane.
in my river. Yes. And that is a completely different feeling than the feeling of struggle. So
that you're going upriver.
yes. And so I'd encourage people to like really maybe if things feel resistant to ask.
Do you think there's a timeline on how long you give something if you still feel it's a struggle? For those entrepreneurs that are listening and they're looking to level up or make a shift and they're not sure?
It's hard to say because it's like looking at your life and it's like, that was how my story was supposed to be. So it's easy to think, well, I should have done this or I should have done that or I should have married this person or whatever. But really how it is how it is. You don't want to spend endless time, but you also don't want to, I also know those people that after 3 months are like, oh, no, I'm not doing that. I'm doing this. Well, you can't make any progress.
True.
Making those kinds of changes. You do have to stick with something for a while because.
Well, you and I were talking about that 4 month, 120 days versus 90.
Yeah.
And what happens in that fourth month.
Yes.
And so many, I've been in business now for 40 years. Jeez, oh, Pete. But I find that people, the common language with a lot of women entrepreneurs especially, and coaching programs and things that are out there, give me 90 days, 90 days, 90 days. And it hit me recently, no, I've always been a 4 month or 6 month kind of a planner because for me, I see the results start to show up in that from 90 to 120 days. And it doesn't do my clients a service. It's a disservice to myself, to my brand, to who I am, and to the clients I work with if I don't emphatically say it has to be a minimum of 4 months. And if some people are like, well, that's not my thing, or I don't, it becomes a cost situation or whatever. Okay, when you see why, then you'll come back and we'll work together. But I'm not willing to make a shift out of that very often. There are some special circumstances depending on what the client needs. But I love that you're also in that space of 120 days makes a change.
And for most of us, even just a personal change, you really don't you don't start seeing weight loss until some time goes by. You don't start seeing strength until some time goes by.
Triceps.
You don't see any of that until time goes by. So some time has to pass for people to actually implement the things that they talked about.
True.
And 3 months goes by 90 days goes by really fast.
Yes, it does.
Especially if you're not meeting with people. It's exhausting to do weekly stuff to me. So if you're meeting with someone every other week or whatever, that's pretty demanding for people to adapt and change and do something new and have results in 90 days.
So I love this pro tip for the 120. So here you are stepping into a chief fractional sales officer. Do you also still have a part of your program for women entrepreneurs?
I do. I do have a part of my program for women entrepreneurs. And what I'm offering right now is a VIP day.
Oh, love this
so
idea.
I have a sales assessment form, and we go through that. And let's pick the 1 or 2 top things you want to achieve and take a 6-hour day and just focus on what do we need to do to make that happen so that that person can walk away with a roadmap and a plan about how to get that done.
Plans are so important, and I'm a creative, so I used to sit there and think, it's all up in my head, and as long as it's in my head and I know the direction I'm going and I see the end game and I see the goal line and I know where I'm going, who needs a plan? Yeah, that didn't work out so great for me. But I had a lot of fun playing in the plan or in the plan that was in my head, and it wasn't until I would do 3 things. I would write it down.
Yes.
I would share it.
Yes.
And then I would put a timeline on it.
Yes.
So at least it caused me to keep working towards something. And I would get frustrated that I have to move the timeline out. And what I found with a lot of solopreneurs is they lack accountability, and they'll go, oh, I really wanted to call 30 people this week, or talk to 10, get one. And so, oh, I only talked to 6. That's okay. I'll add 4 more to next week, and now I'll talk to 14 and hopefully get one. Oh, life got busy and things changed, and I only talked to 10 people. So now I got to add 14 on to the third week of the month, and now I'm talking to 24 to get my one. And it just becomes this endless cyclical mess.
Girl, you know we've been there. We have been there. And, when I help people understand that selling is a process. And so those things you talk about, like, it's work. You have to do some things. Mm-hmm. So if that thing is that you need to contact 10 people and you don't do it, you have to understand it's a numbers game. You need to get people in your world.
Yes.
Because only a portion of those people are going to flow down to actually buying from you. And I mean, a thing that frustrates me and makes me sad is there are lots of very good people out there. They're good talkers, they're good marketing people that promise people, I can get you from 0 to 6 figures in 6 months or whatever. It's unlikely for most people unless you already have an audience or some kind of base of business that you're going to build on to do that.
Isn't that the truth?
And
even the influencers out there.
Yes.
That's short-lived, and then what?
And then what? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then people spend 5 figures to pay people, and they realize that's not really going to happen, versus having a doable, deliberate plan that you have to put your head down and do the work every day. If you'll do it, you'll get the results.
And sometimes that means taking some other things off your plate.
Yes.
You can be such a good doer for people.
Yes.
And show up as a humanitarian, as a mom, a wife, a fur mom,
Yeah.
and all of these things. Show up for yourself, the workout, the show up in church, show up in your community. And all of a sudden, you're spread so thin that the thing that's moving your needle forward
It's not happening.
is not happening.
Yeah.
And so what can you, I don't like to say eliminate, but maybe table
Yes.
or change some priorities around. I had a coach when I started my third entrepreneurial journey say to me, write down the ages of everybody important in your life, even your good friends, 3 years down the road, 5 years down the road, and 10 years down the road. And what is happening, you think, in their lives when you look at those ages? And it was this brilliant aha moment, and it made me look at my children at the time a different way, because I was like, oh, maybe they'll be married, and then they'll have grandbabies. And then, because in my mind, I'm thinking all my kids are having grandbabies, and I know that's not necessarily the case for everybody. But then I also watched my nieces and my niece and 2 nephews, and I looked at their ages, and I looked at my parents, and I thought, I'm ready to rev up and go, but look what's happening to my family. And there's some shifts and changes that are happening. How am I going to create a business that supports the graduation, the grandbaby time, if my parents need me, time with the going watch sports events? How can I craft my business as an entrepreneur? And it was such a beautiful exercise. It's actually when I first started to plan things out.
I love that. And that, very important point. People need a plan and a roadmap. A very big challenge for me leaving corporate. You have a contained life, and a lot of your life is ruled by the big system that you're a part of.
And you're having to check off their boxes.
Yeah, and you're accountable to other people. You've got a boss, and that person's got a boss. Or you've got, partners and colleagues that depend on your work. And when you become a solopreneur, nobody does. And it's easy, and I'm a pretty disciplined person, it's easy to get wrapped up in social media.
On a phone call.
What is following a series and all of that. And in the same way, get to the end of your day and go, gosh, I didn't make those 10 calls, and now it's 5 o'clock and I'm tired. I'm tired from watching social media all day.
Yeah, or I've been sitting here for 6 and 8 hours and I haven't gotten up to
Yeah.
eat or do my own walk,
Right.
something.
Yeah.
Lift I have weights in my office.
Yeah.
Gina, I'll look at them for a week. I'll blow the dust off them at the end of the week and go, okay, well, maybe don't tell my trainer that I'm not doing anything with them. I have this beautiful keyboard that I got a year ago to play piano, really for my grandbaby because I had 12 years of lessons. I haven't tinkered on that thing in months, and I played actually this morning. I'm like, ooh, I can still do this.
Yeah.
That was fun, but it started this creative energy for me. And it's funny how we can get ourselves stuck as entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
And I have 2 masterminds that I'm in now, Gina, and we hold each other accountable to things we want to make sure we're getting done. And I know I have to report to them. One is every other week and one is every Friday. And I love that because I used to be like, oh, it's Thursday, tomorrow's the call. What am I going to say? Now, Monday, I know what that plan's looking like all week long. And it does matter to have a plan. And I love that you put that in front of your clients. As we're wrapping up here, Gina, share a recent story or win you've had with a client or an entrepreneur that you've worked with. I would love to let the audience hear that because I think it's powerful that we hear a success story for you.
Yeah, I worked with a client who she and her husband purchased a franchise business and started a business. They're both creatives.
We just talked about that.
Yeah. And really struggled on the part of selling because neither one of them, it just wasn't their vibe. It wasn't their lane. And we did a program for her. I don't do it anymore, but we did at the time of taking her through all of the things, the steps of selling, the mindset of selling, the skills, the data you need to have in place in order to figure out where you're going with your business. How are you getting your revenue? How are you making this opportunity work for you? And as things turned out, she went through all of this and she's like, I get it. I'm getting more of it. They also both had other jobs.
Okay.
And we had a conversation about, she said, well, I think this is great, but we're going to hire a salesperson. Okay, well, let's talk about what that decision means and what that is. And they really, after some time, understood that's not what they needed, that they both weren't going to be the prime salespeople, but what they really need was a back-end person for all the administrative tasks and things they weren't doing so they could free up some time to sell.
I love this.
While they have these other jobs.
Right.
And this franchise business that they're trying to grow.
And it worked.
It worked.
I love that. I love that win for you. If people want to learn more about working with you or what is a fractional sales officer, how do they connect with you? And we'll put it in the show notes too.
So you can connect with me on LinkedIn, Gina R. Smith. You can connect with me on my website,
Which is lovely, by the way, and it's very easy to navigate through.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
Those are the 2 best ways to connect with me.
And at the end of the year, what would you call a 2026 success?
2026 success would be that I have helped the companies I'm working with really to establish a strategy, a sales team, and a system that works and that their revenue is increasing.
I love that.
Yeah.
And that helps. That's a win-win for everybody.
Yes.
And maybe stops, as we segue back to the beginning conversation, them having those layoffs going into the new year.
Yeah.
That makes sense for me. Well done, Gina. Well, everybody on our podcast receives a Hello Sunshine box from me because I want you to remember the light you share in the world is important. And when you feel like binging on a TV show, that's okay. Just remember to show up the next day in your bright light, Gina.
Thank you. That's beautiful.
Thank you for being on Be Visible with Veronica.
Thanks so much. It was fun.
It was fun, wasn't it? If you loved this episode, please make sure that you share it with your audience and your community and subscribe and hit that notification button so that you can continue to receive updates every week as I bring you incredible guests from all around the world to share their brilliance on their entrepreneurial journey. Thanks for tuning in to Be Visible with Veronica. If today's episode sparked something in you, share it, tag me, and pass it on. Your presence has power, and the world is better when you let it be seen. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and keep showing up as the unstoppable force you were born to be. I'll see you next time.